To a demo of RESTpoint. Today we're going to do a hello world to build an API design. Let's start with logging in off the home page, and I'm going to come in and create a project here. I'm going to come out my first API design, and I'm not going to put in a description or import OpenAPI. I'm just going to start a new project and create a path manually. So let's start with, I'm going to create an API to list the stocks that I follow. So it's a resource that has many stocks. So I'm going to do the collection, not the single. I'm going to add in the JSON. So let's call this, let's say it's Amazon. And we're going to call this the ticker symbol. And that's AMZN, and call this the ticker. Now, of course, I can put in lots more properties. I can put nested JSON objects in, whatever works. And I'm going to call this resource name stock. I mean, that would be the name that would be given when you generate OpenAPI. And I can reuse resource when I'm building more paths that use stock as the resource. So let's hit save. And then we should see our path appear here. So right now, we just created a path. So when a path is created, automatically a database is created for that. So right now I have stocks. There's my database. I have that. I can add one more stock into it. Let's say we call this Tesla, and we'll call this. And I'm going to add that. So in my database now, I have two stocks, Amazon and Tesla. So if I want to try out this API, we use Swagger UI. So I'm going to connect. Instantly, that is converted to OpenAPI and uses Swagger UI. The authorization is already built in, which is your own personal API code. So I can just come in here and say, try it. And you'll see there's the full curl statement, and you'll see X API key is my personal API key, and that's the project. That's just needed for when you're testing out of your own environment. So you'll see there's my Amazon and Tesla. Great. And that's really over the web. You'll see there RESTpoint, stocks. And you can go and query. You can do post, creates, deletes. Everything will all work like this is a real API backend. Now, this is great for trying things out. I can try it out, see how I like it, delete. Then when I want to start showing it to somebody, I'm going to come up here and deploy it. So when I deploy, I'm going to call this my beta 1, and I'm going to say first draft of stocks API. So we'll ignore GraphQL. We'll do that in future demos. But I'm going to deploy this path, and yes, copy that API. Any of the data that's in any of the APIs, copy with it. So I'm going to deploy. This will create its own completely independent API backend in the cloud. There's the API access keys, and any of these reports and docs. These are all customizable docs, but we give a version of it. And so let's grab now a Swagger UI again to use as our client, but you can use Postman, curl, whatever works. So now I'm going to go to beta 1, and you'll see first draft of my stocks. Now, if I want to say, give me my stocks, I'll say, try it out, hit execute, and you'll see right there, there's my curl statement. So you can copy that out and run it from your command line. But all you have to do now is to give somebody, there's the API, there's the endpoint key, and then they can come in and issue in creates, deletes, whatever works. But this is a full API backend ready to service requests. So in order to give this API request, if you wanted to pass this out, the easiest thing probably is to send this link. This gives a summary of all the information that your API user could take a look at. So it summarizes. There's my test drive, so test drive the API. And there's the full curl statement, so they see it. And then you'll see there's the API document, Swagger, OpenAPI. They can do any of these things. So if they wanted to try it, and do what we just did, just click on the OpenAPI viewer. They can come in and click get, start trying it. And of course, there it is. And then if they want to run it in their own Postman environment or curl or anything they use for sending API requests, you're free to do that. So this is the end of this demo that shows how quick you can have a real working API backend in the cloud with OpenAPI and share it very easily. Thank you.